It's time to get educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. This is the Dr. Duke Show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Dr. Duke Show. Before we get started, please hit that share button so we can educate more and more patriots across the country. All right, we're kicking this mother off with Vicki McKenna and CultureCast. Vicki, welcome to the show.
Good to be here, Duke.
Sometimes the stories are so hysterical, it's worth the corrupt culture. I mean, we've got a story coming from you about a cracker Karen, a white woman who apparently likes to whip young black men, on the basketball court. Now, this is part of a broader series of quote-unquote educational videos. The name of the company, the organization, is Generation Hope. And what they're doing is creating these video content. They're actually made up video content, most of it seems to be. And what they're doing is they're trying to scare people about just how bad Western culture is, how much white supremacy there is in the world. And this is pretty remarkable.
All right, we're going to play the video, so just stick around for that. You have to see it. It is every awful, lie and piece of horrid, vile stereotyping you can imagine. It is agitprop. That's the right word for this, and this entire organization's series of videos is agitprop. It is no different than what the Nazis did to try to convince people that Jewish people were the most horrible people on earth and needed to be, summarily removed from society. It's not different than that concept. It is absurd, but over time, even absurd agitprop starts to work its way into the culture's consciousness. And that's my worry about this. It's very funny because it's stupid. At the same time, we're living in idiocracy. That movie, by the way, wasn't funny when I first saw it. And now it's not funny at all because we're living in it. That said, these kinds of, and Duke, you're a college professor. You see these kids, the kind of information and stereotype that they are promoting is not questioned by young people. It's promoted by the professoriate. And so, as funny as it is, and this absurd, skinny little white woman cracking a whip at these calm, peaceful black men playing basketball, it's stupid, except that someone's going to believe this. This is going to end up influencing people in ways that are dangerous. This
is Fantasy Island for the deranged liberal, right? Can you imagine Tattoo and Mr. Rourke welcoming these two idiots who buy this kind of propaganda to Fantasy Progressive Island, where immediately they're shown 3D surround sound versions of white people just abusing the hell out of minorities.
Here's the skinny white lady, with the gigantic purse and a bullwhip that she whips out. And the progressive people on Progressive Fantasy Island say, that's exactly how it happens. It's just like that. This is worse than slavery. This is worse than pre-civil rights Southern America. This is the most horrible place on earth. And it's not just this subject. It's about, white families and all kinds of different ways that Western culture is horrible and must be eradicated because, this agitprop is attacking all levels of it.
Yeah, take a look at the website. Here are some of the titles of the shows that they've done. Unbelievable. Wife fakes cancer. Frat guy, drugs, hot girl. Evil son poisons mother. Evil foster mother. I mean, this is progressive porn for idiots. I mean, can't you just see Tattoo running around? Hey, the cracker, right? The crackers are coming. It's unbelievable. And you go back to that website of theirs, and Vicki, tell us where they're getting their funding from. For something that is as absurd as this, boy, they're getting some serious donors.
So they get massive donors. They are considered a charity. It's a group called Generation Hope, and it is funded by folks like the Washington, D.C. fixer firm SKD Knickerbocker. It's the Wall Street Journal franchise. It is, Pepco Holdings. It's Ernst & Young. That's who's underwriting this. And they're considered, a nonprofit. So they're not paying taxes on any of this stuff. No doubt they're also seeking and likely receiving taxpayer money in the form of capacity building dollars or dollars that are set aside for social justice or education. They call themselves an education group. And their message is that America is worse than it was before Jim Crow. Only this time, skinny white ladies who couldn't survive a strong wind are the ones who are so powerful. They're like ninja superheroes that are the ones that are delivering this rough justice from the bad old days of pre-Jim Crow. It's just nuts. This is how progressives think of America, though. That is important to understand. They wouldn't make this video if they didn't actually think this is what America was like.
Stay right there, America. You're going to want to see this after the break.
Are you a fan of the show? Consider joining the Patriot Club. Your tax-deductible donation of $99 a year keeps us going. Simply visit patriotclub.us. That's patriotclub.us to pledge your support and receive our signature tumbler as a token of our appreciation. We've got much more to come. Stay with us.
All right, back again with part 2 and Vicki McKenna and CultureCast. Okay, so we're talking about, give me the video one more time, the actual website one more time, Mike. This is family friendly, it says, Generation Hope. A bunch of young activists getting a lot of money from including Wall Street Journal affiliated organizations to make videos that are trying to scare people to death about how evil whiteness is, evil white people are,
yes,
and how evil white culture is. Here's the video of a young Karen who's walking in her neighborhood, finds out that there are 2 black guys, one in a wheelchair, by the way, playing basketball. How dare they invade her white Karen space? And well, you just got to see the rest.
Monkeys are back at it again. I'll teach them a lesson they won't forget. Hey! What did I tell you criminals about coming back to my neighborhood?
Oh no, Roy, let's just get out of here.
No, Vince. I won't let her ruin our fun. Listen, lady, we aren't breaking any laws by having fun here at the park. I won't let you intimidate us anymore.
Are you talking back to me, boy? I guess you forgot who used to own your kind, and I'm about to remind you of that right now.
Ow! Ah, that hurts! Ah, Vince, help! Ah.
Don't you touch him or I will knock your teeth out.
Roy, hang on. I'll get some help.
So a couple of things I got to throw out there right away. Right
I
away.
want to say this. Yeah, me too. Because I just want to know why that man did not get up out of that wheelchair and say, "My goodness, I could feel that. I'm healed."
Yes, she's whipping him. She's whipping him below the waist, and he's in a wheelchair where evidently he can't feel any feeling in his legs. How about the fact that the big tall guy runs away and leaves him there? I mean, how hard
with the scary skinny white lady?
How hard would it have been to grab the handlebars and just run away with him? And to me, this is, of all the things that bothers me, two adult African-American men would never use the word, "We will not let you ruin our fun." That doesn't make any sense. That's what white people say. No way would they.
Even white men wouldn't have said that.
Those 2 black guys are whiter than Karen in the video. So, I
just want to say, Karen had somehow, she managed to hide that massive bullwhip in that impossibly large bag that she's carrying around. Honestly, it looks like it's a little too heavy for her. So here's another thing. But really, first off, understand, progressives actually think this is what America's like. So before we continue on about it, I just want to say, could the actress have washed her hair? Please? Could you try a little personal hygiene before you actually try to, produce anti-American, racist agitprop? But so here this is what they think. They think that some skinny, white lady who could get blown over in a strong wind is going to be walking around with a giant bag concealing a bullwhip. And that, that somehow this is even close to, realistic or even acceptably metaphorical about what's going on in this country. That literally happens nowhere in this country, literally Nowhere, you will never find an actual event like this that's real and not staged. But this is what the progressives believe. And remember, they are underwritten by some of the most powerful and wealthy progressives, in DC, in New York. We're talking about progressive fixer firms for Democrats. And somehow this is a qualifying charity.
If you actually wrote down what happened, like a journalistic account of this, and showed it to my university colleagues, they would believe it hook, line, and sinker. Now, some of them, I'd like to believe, are aware enough that if they saw the video, they would see through that. I would like to believe that. But if you just wrote like a 4-sentence overview of what happened, my university faculty would believe it. My chancellor, if you said it happened at the university, would be writing a letter condemning all racism across the world. You would have all sorts of investigations. You'd have all sorts of bias reporting incidents. Just take the video, which is ridiculous, put it down to three or four ridiculous sentences, and the liberals will believe it hook, line, and sinker.
100%. And you should put that to the test. You should try that with your kids. See whether or not they're willing to believe these lies. Even after you have worked so hard to show them the pathways to truth. See what happens even if it's just college students, because I think they will believe it. And I will bet you that you can show this video to, and I would bet out of 100 progressives, 95 of them would believe the video is real.
I agree.
90 to 95 of them would believe that absurd video was actually real.
I agree, but I do think that the kids are less gullible than the faculty. I think that 95% of faculty will get it. I bet half of the kids would see through it, and then the university would get angry that half the kids didn't believe it and put them through mandatory race training.
And they would be told, because talk radio would expose them and say it's fake. And they would say, well, we're right on principle.
That's
we may be wrong on the details, but we're right on principle.
It's like fake race crimes, hate crimes, right? It may not have happened, but it speaks to the deep division and racist origins of our country.
It could have happened.
You couldn't make this up, but somebody just did. And and liberals are loving it. Thanks for your time today. And just remember the monumental opening line of that video. Remember? The monkeys are at it again.
Today's show is sponsored by Clean Start Hand Sanitizer. For an odor-free foam hand sanitizer that lasts 2 hours and provides 19 refills, visit freedomproject.com/clean. That's KLEEN to order yours today.
All right, it's time for Trending Left. We've compiled some of the craziest social media content making waves across the internet for your viewing pleasure. We start with a non-binary preschool teacher who is so distraught that she can't figure out which pronoun she should use or even what name to be called in her new school. Yet, she has been hired to educate 4-year-olds. Think about that as you watch this.
Hi, so I have a small dilemma. I am starting a new job on Monday. And it's a teaching job, so the kids are going to call me either Mr. or Mrs. Jamie. It depends on what I want, but I, as a non-binary being, I don't know what to pick. I feel like Mrs. would be easier for the kids, but Mr. makes me feel better, but I also kind of want to try mix, but I don't know if the kids can do that. And then what do they do when they ask me if I'm a boy or a girl? I'm not. I don't know.
Explain that it's young kids, too.
It's young kids. My class is going to be 4-year-olds, so I don't know. And then I don't know if I want to go by Jamie or Jamie Ray, because Jamie Ray is the name that I go by now. I don't know.
Ah, little grasshoppers, Confucius say, if you so concerned with what you're called, you have very little faith in what you really are. Moving on. A man who claims to work with young kids posted a video discussing how easy it is to indoctrinate children into believing gender fluidity. And, well, take a look at this nonsense.
I'm playing make-believe with the kids that I work with, and the youngest, the 2-year-old, wants me to be the dad, and she would like to be the mom. I asked her, hey, is it all right if I be the non-binary parent? She gave it a moment, thought, and said, yeah. Then the 5 and the 7-year-old asked, well, what do we call you if you're a non-binary parent? We have mom for mom, and we have dad for dad, but what would we call you as a non-binary parent? I told them the word that I created was POMO, the mix of pops and mom that I call my parents. They loved it. They even came up with some ideas of their own, like MOPA and PO. Gender fluidity is not confusing for children. They understand the beauty of the diversity and the vast identities that we all hold. The issue is with the ignorance of adults that refuse to listen. It's time we learn from these kids.
How ignorant is that? His opening words were, I was playing make-believe with the kids. And at the end of that, he's so impressed with the kids' ability to play make-believe that he says they understand gender better than parents. Somebody needs some serious analysis. Speaking of confusion, here's a story that seems too strange to believe, yet here we are. A substitute teacher had herself a little rant after claiming she was fired for not meowing at a student who identifies as a cat.
Okay, I've got to rant for a minute. Just when I thought school couldn't get any weirder, it did today. I'm a sub, and the most important thing we do is take roll so the school gets paid. So I'm looking at the seating chart as I'm going up and down the rows and marking who's here and who's not. I get to the third row and I hear this meow. Excuse me? Excuse me? I start looking on the ground. Go to the fourth row, everything's good. Go to the fifth row, everybody's there. Then I hear meow. I'm like, okay, what's up with that? Who's doing it? And this little girl in the very front row says, you have to meow back at him. He identifies as a cat. Are you kidding me? I said, is there a litter box in here somewhere? My sarcasm self probably shouldn't have said that. He gets up and he storms out of the classroom. And I'm like, rough. And of course, the entire class is laughing. And I think, no problem, no foul. I go to the office, you ready for this? You check out. They said, we no longer need your services if you can't identify with all the children in the classroom. And you wonder why they don't have any subs.
And there you have why nobody learns anything under the new social justice methodology. It is the teacher's job to identify with 27, 35 different kids. Ignore everything else. Notice what there's not. The slightest need for any one student to actually understand and identify with the teacher whose job it is to teach. No wonder these social justice kids are stupid. And finally, we end with an incredibly disturbing video that may force you to question your own sanity. Here's the question of the day. How many masks does it take to make the craziest people feel safe on an airplane? All I gotta say, if men were as careful with their condoms as they are with their masks, there would never be a need for another abortion. All right, that wraps up this segment. More nonsense to discuss next week. It's time now for some real education. The Tragedy of Macbeth, we've been glorying in this play all week, in large part because there's a new movie version coming out. It's The Tragedy of Macbeth. It's a 2021 American historical thriller film written by Joel Coen, one of the Coen brothers. His brother Ethan usually teams up, and it's based on the play Macbeth by William Shakespeare. Unlike so many modern adaptations of Shakespeare, this one looks, that are political, I should say, that are out of the world, wacko, social justice. This one looks like it's going to be pretty darn good. The fact is that you've got Denzel Washington starring as Macbeth, and that gives us a lot of hope that this will be a great version. So I'm going to show you the trailer for the movie here in a moment, and I'd like you to consider sitting down with your kids and watching it. What better way to introduce your kids into Shakespeare without all of that left-wing garbage they're going to get attached to it in school? As a Shakespeare professor, I can tell you, kids, high school kids come to my classes hating Shakespeare. Why? Because their teachers don't even know how to teach it. They can't read it themselves. What do the teachers in the high schools do? They sit the kids down, they make them read out loud in a big circle, or they immediately plop movies into the VCR. Trust me, We are not educating education majors to be able to handle complicated books anymore. It's all social justice. So this is a chance for you to give your kids a good introduction to Shakespeare. The film stars, again, Denzel Washington, Frances McDormand, who also produced the film, and some interesting British actors, Bertie Carvel, and a number of people you won't really recognize, and they won't get in the way of the star of the picture, which is Denzel. The Tragedy of Macbeth had its world premiere at the New York Film Festival on September 24th. It had a limited theatrical release, and right now you can watch it on Apple TV. This is the time. So take a look at our trailer.
By the pricking of my thumbs, something wicked this way comes.
My husband, king that shall be.
If we should fail,
We fail. Didst thou not hear noise?
methought I heard a voice cry, "Sleep no more."
Are you a man?
Aye, and a bold one, that dare look upon that which might appall the devil.
I have no words. My voice is in my sword.
There's already a lot of buzz that Denzel's going to get an Oscar nomination for this movie. I bet he does. And trust me, as a Shakespeare professor, your kids will learn more about life and human nature from a really good production of a Shakespeare play than they will learn in their entire public school education. Take the time and show your kids this movie.
If you have a question for Dr. Duke and Katie, please send it our way by emailing askduke@fpeusa.org.
And that's going to do it for this show. I'm Dr. Duke. Until next time, stay educated, my friends.